Welcome to Collecting Consciousness, where we aim to capture the ever-expanding and evolving conscious creations that originate from the minds of fellow podcasters, strangers, dear friends, and loved ones.
In this podcast, we will expand on our inner wisdom and a coming home to self. From our conscious minds to yours, we welcome you to the Collecting Consciousness.
Welcome to another episode of Collecting Consciousness with Bethany and
Welcome.
Courtney. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. So, as usual, we're going to get started with a little breath work. So, allowing this time and space in this moment to just take a pause wherever you're at, if it's possible. If it's not, maybe just take this little practice and carry it home with you and do it later today. But taking this moment to take a pause. And in this pause, just noticing your breath. Tuning into its rate. Is it slow? Is it fast? Tuning into its rhythm. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Is it steady? And as we tune into our breath, allowing it to be what it is, this gives us insight into what is going on in our bodies at this time, in our minds. And so wherever your breath is at in this moment, I invite you to just exhale out, allowing all the air to empty out of the body, allowing the stomach to become tight and empty. And on the next inhale, I want you to take a nice deep breath, softening the belly, bringing the breath all the way down, maybe past your belly button, allowing the diaphragm to relax, allowing the lungs to expand open to their fullest capacity, allowing that breath to fill your chest cavity as big as you can, and then holding that breath at the top for just a moment, experiencing the stillness that is capable. And then on the exhale, I want you to sigh everything out, every stress, every worry. Let it all out with a nice audible sigh. Taking another beautiful deep inhale, allowing the belly to soften, allowing this breath to grow a little deeper. Maybe it comes towards your pelvis, allowing the breath to then expand the upper abdomen, allow the chest to fill and expand as big as a little bird when they're relaxed, allowing our chest to just puff out nice and big and with relaxation. At the top, I want you to hold it for just a moment, experiencing the stillness that is available to you. And then I want you to exhale, let it all out. Allow the chest to collapse, the belly to completely sink in towards the back. And last deep breath, I want you to make this the biggest, deepest, softest breath that you've had all week. So breathing deeply into the belly, allowing the belly to soften and expand and become big, allowing the chest to puff out and fill with this beautiful, fresh breath. And then when you get to the top, just holding that breath for a moment, feeling the stillness that is inside of you. And on the exhale, letting it all out, maybe allowing the body to wiggle and shake and just let it all out. And now returning to your breath, your natural rhythm. And maybe allowing yourself to observe any shifts that have happened, And maybe it's not even a shift in your breath. Maybe it's a shift in your body. Maybe your shoulders are more relaxed or the tension is gone in your chest. And just for this moment, allow your awareness to be with what is. And if your eyes are open, I offer you this opportunity to gently close your eyes as we allow Courtney to set the space for us.
Thank you, Bethany. Courtney here. Welcome back to another episode of the Collecting Consciousness, episode 3. How wonderful and exciting that is. What was the purpose of doing that breath work? The purpose is like our intention. It's a coming home to self. It is getting back in the body so we can be in tune to the wisdom that lies within. So really savor those moments of the breath work that Bethany just gave, and let us create the container of infinite expansion, of infinite wisdom, connecting to our hearts. Feel your heart space, knowing that blood is pumping in and pumping out, that there truly is a deep knowing within us. I invite the deep knowing to our energetic field. If that feels right for you, set the intention to open up to the wisdom that lies within. Calling upon all guides, ancestors, guardians, God, whatever feels right for you. Be in the energetic space to allow what is to be, that it is safe to express, that it is safe to be who you are. Welcome to the wisdom. Welcome to the deep beauty of the unknown. Welcome to the expansion all around. Welcome to the collecting consciousness. From our hearts to yours, we are here to experience the full capacity of what is. Take your time feeling those feelings, feeling those thoughts. Perhaps set an intention for this episode within your internal compass. Allow the wisdom to flow to you. But the container is set. So sit back, open those ears, and welcome in the wisdom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was fun.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love how we start these. It feels so fun and so organic.
And authentic. I feel like it's
Yeah,
like authentically what you're about, and it's authentically
yes.
like where I, like you're the one with the words and the guidance and like in your healing sessions, it's like that's a super beautiful component to them, is your ability to like guide with your words. And then I just have leaned into this breath work thing. And so I'm just like
Yeah.
really
In
leaning
the
into
body.
the body, the body.
Yeah. Body, yaddy, yaddy. Cheers, cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so
What
I
you
just want to
sipping?
point out an Americano from your espresso machine
Nice.
is so delicious. What are you drinking? Tea, it looks like.
Yep, Moroccan mint with little green tea. That's good.
Yum,
Refreshing.
yum.
keeps me
Very
thinking
good.
clear. Like coffee sometimes can make my mind too fast. So
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
this helps me
I
make.
have
Mhm.
I have to limit myself for sure because I mean, I am a coffee drinker. I could drink coffee all day, but I know it's not good for me. You know, things in excess are not good for us. So keep it into moderation. So I have 1 to 2 cups a day. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little frisky, I might have another.
Yeah.
um, but I just want to point something out before we like dive into it. So last night I was gonna message you and I was gonna be like, "What are you wearing?" But then I didn't, and I was also like, for the last little bit before going to bed, I was like, "What am I gonna wear tomorrow? What am I gonna wear?" And it wasn't coming to me. And outfits always come to me, and I was like, "Okay, it's clearly not meant to come to me right now. So go to bed." So I went to bed and I woke up and immediately I knew to put on this poncho. And then I get on the phone call with Biff, and she's wearing a poncho. Connecting our consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so possible. It's so possible. It's like that same phenomenon when you're like thinking about somebody, thinking about something. I should call them. I should call them.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then they call you. Like
Yes, that's
they
that's one
pick
of
it
my
up.
that's one of my best. So I always tell clients when they want to start trusting their intuition, when they want to start understanding their intuition, I'm like, literally, just it happens to people all the time. I was like, when you think of a person, they're in your energetic field. Guess what? They're going to call you. And I have this friend, and me and her, we always talk about that. And we were working together one day, and we were talking about it. And then I get a text from her later that night. She's like, "Courtney, my freaking teacher from 15 years ago. I was thinking of her today, and she called me." I
Oh,
was like, that the power of connection, the power of intuition. So viewers, listeners, if you're hearing, the next time you think of somebody, pay attention, because guess what? They're coming into your energetic, they're already in your energetic field, and they will be contacting you.
yeah,
So try this little technique to tap into your intuition.
I love it. Yep. Bam. Nice. So let's that was just a little extra fluff on the real
Yeah.
deal. So we today are gonna do a version of what the podcast will be in the future, but it's just this podcast was birthed out of me and Courtney having conversations on the phone and just, organically talking about whatever's flowing through our lives and expanding on it with each other. We're always about, learning, growing, digesting new information. And so this episode was birthed out of a conversation the other day that we had on the phone about the whole podcast journey so far. And we felt like it was one of those moments like we should talk about this on the podcast. This might be a very relatable and very vulnerable in a positive way thing to share. And so that's also what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be about those candid conversations that we have that feel really potent to share and to expand on with everybody, whoever's listening, whoever this reaches. So that's what this is going to be about. And the context is, I think so. I listen to podcasts and I think it just happens like these people just like started podcasting and like they make it seem so effortless and just like, they just get on and talk and it's no big deal. And then they share it and you don't ever really know until like until you've walked in the shoes all the layers that you experience when you do put yourself out to whoever is going to watch this. And so that was kind of me and Courtney's conversation was just around our our personal mm, insecurities that have come up in regards to this podcast and creating it and then releasing it. And yeah, we just kind of expanded on that. And Courtney had some beautiful wisdom around it. So, to deal with the ego. So we kind of want to touch on the ego this podcast and just yeah, just have a relatable, real, vulnerable conversation. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of where I think we should start, I'm not sure. I was kind of struggling actually with where to start on this one because I feel like aside from this podcast up to this date, I've had a lot of journeys with the ego. So this podcast was just another layer of an ego journey. So I don't know if we want to just like talk about first the ego and
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I was like, how about we just start with what is the ego?
yeah, yeah. You got thoughts.
Okay.
You got thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, the ego, I got lots of thoughts.
Okay.
The thoughts they're always going in this brain. This brain
Yeah.
is always going. Okay. So the ego for me, the ego is trying to keep us safe. The ego, it's a protection. Like ultimate when I see the ego now, I'm like, oh hi, I see you. I see you're trying to keep me safe. But hey, let's lean into this. Let's get expansive. So the ego, in my opinion, fears the unknown. That's why a lot of people get held back, is because they are driven by their ego and they are driven by fear. And there's so many, oh, what if this doesn't work out? What if this just like throws me off kilter for the next 5 years? Boom, I'm not going to do it because my ego took hold. It was trying to protect me from the unknown, but it didn't allow me. It doesn't, when I live in the ego, it doesn't allow me to be in the full capacity of who I am. And it really stunts your growth when you live in a place of ego. So for me, it's all about protection. It's all about control, and it's all about fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
And that,
Yeah,
yeah.
to add to it too, like so one thing that I thought was cool that I heard from Blue, what the one of the podcasters that I love and adore, and so does Courtney. But she had this really cool episode too where she talked about, or just in one of her conversations where she talked about how you dress, your outward appearance has an
Yeah.
egoic nature, because it's on the surface. So it's she kind of described it as like putting on your costume for the day. Like, what does that like? Who do you want to present as? Like, that's a fun, flirty way to also play with the ego that is always there every day when you go to get
Mm-hmm.
dressed, when you go to walk out in the world. Um, so when you have that voice and you're looking at your closet, you're like, oh God, I don't know what to wear today. This person might think I'm going to look like this. So I don't want to wear that because that person's going to judge me about that. It's like watching those thoughts, because that's the ego, but that's kind of an unhealthy relationship with the ego where it's kind of running your life and telling you, all these judgments before you leave the house just so you can be the most protected in what you wear. So at that point, you might as well just go out in a completely black jumpsuit, and just call it a day, because then you could
Mm-hmm.
avoid, but still actually on that level, you would still probably get criticized. So it's just
100%.
so it's a cool way to acknowledge that that lives inside of us, that little voice that's telling us what to wear every day. And then Blue just leaned into it and was like, well, I'm going to just figure out what kind of costume I want to put on today. Who do I want to be today? And like
Totally.
play into it, instead of letting it run you, And so I think that's like the biggest thing with the ego that I've learned over, well, I'll just speak on what I've learned about the ego, because I thought at one point that like you could kill your ego, and like your ego could be like you could have a real ego death.
God.
Death is, like the ego death, the ego's gone, because that was something that was tossed around in spiritual communities for a long time, was like this ego death. And so that's what comes up for me the most, is this whole j- kind of unfolding that I've been on with it, where it's like the ego will never die. Like your ego, if your ego dies, then you are dead, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a component of you here in this consciousness. So it's, you will experience probably ego deaths if you go through any massive change and transformation. Who you were at 10 to who you are at 18, that's an ego death. Like you're not the
Yeah.
same person. Who you are at 18 to who you are at 26, that could be another ego death, because you're a totally different person. You might have kids, you might have a family, like you know what I mean? So
In
throughout
a sense, you're like, do you mind if I cut in?
yeah.
In a sense, it's like, you're shifting perspectives. Those ego deaths, it's like you're learning, you're becoming more conscious. So you're seeing, oh, that was an old part of me where I was living in this type of way of
Identity.
life. Exactly, identity. But then when you go through the transformation, when you go through those growth spurts, you shed that ego, you shed that part of your ego, and then stepping into newer egos, and then it just continually trigger, like it continually goes on. But then you realize, oh hey, I'm not triggered by this anymore. Ooh, I'm not reacting to this. When maybe 2 years ago, if somebody said that to me, I would have been really triggered and got in my ego and let my ego take the past, taking the driver's wheel,
Mhm.
and let them lead. So it you learn how to adapt and grow, and just seeing what you were once before.
Yeah. And also like and also about that, because I do actually really was intentional about expanding on the ego death, really, because I do feel like in spiritual communities and like in books of enlightenment, it's like literally like you're reading about an ego death. So I think people like myself maybe could really think that like you're gonna kill your ego and like life is gonna be good. You're gonna be enlightened and like everything's gonna be good. And it's like I feel like that really needs to shift from you're gonna kill your ego and you're gonna experience an ego death to like you're gonna befriend your ego.
Yes,
You're gonna be
exactly.
best
Yes.
friends with it in your lifetime, like, and once you
Yeah.
become best friends with it and you're on the same bench playing the same game together and you're able to say like, "Okay, I need your help now, like, come in and protect
Yeah.
me," or
Yes.
like, "Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's great, thanks for that tip because I wasn't gonna see it that way and that will help me be safer," but that's how
Mhm.
you wanna use your ego, you wanna see her on the same bench, and, like, really, I mean, I have spent time, like, really visualizing my ego, and, like, to the point of, like, a little girl inside of my heart that, like, I see her and I see, like, she's there and we're on the same page, and, like, when we're not, that's when I'm controlled by her, like, when we're not on the same page and and that could happen for whatever reason, you're tired,
Mhm.
you're in a new situation that's your nervous system is overrun, so therefore, like, your ego is gonna step in. If you can't calm down
Like,
enough to, like,
regulate.
be aware of your thoughts and your mind, then your ego is gonna step in. She's gonna take control because that's the function of your ego, truly.
Keeping you safe, trying to keep you
Uh,
safe.
yeah, so just kinda
It's
snowballed. Oh, go, yeah, go.
No, well, I was just gonna say it's beautiful in the sense, like, that's how I've been looking at it. It's just like, oh, I see you. Hi. Hi, how are you? Treating her like a friend and being like, okay, so it's okay. It's okay that you're a little scared, but guess what? We can learn, we can grow from this. We can do this risky thing. Like, hey, we're starting a podcast.
Mhm,
Let's step out and trust ourselves. And then hey, the ego can lessen, and then you like the ego cannot feel so scared.
mhm.
So I think it's a beautiful experience to it's a delicate dance of balance.
And I guess also, yeah, totally, and just to, like, bookmark, um, how you're able to be aware of those thoughts, like, in your
Hmm.
own life, like, how are you I guess I'm asking you, like,
Oh, okay.
how are you able to maintain that ability to be aware of your ego? Like
So okay, so it happened. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and like he was like teasing at me, and I felt like I had to defend myself. I was like, oh, so ego came in, but boom, I saw it because I was like, because I felt like I had to prove something or I had to defend myself. I was easily able to say, oh, hey, Court, you're here in the ego, soften, it's okay. And then I was, but like, so I think because like I've been in this field that I can see things pretty clearly and I can really in tune with the body. So I do feel when my heart starts to change physiologically, when I start to feel my heart racing, oh my gosh, my hands are a little bit sweaty, I'm feeling irritable. Maybe that's a little indicator for me to pause, take a breath, and check in with how am I feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically. And those are great ways to see the ego. Is what sort of physiological sensations are your body having? So truly getting to know the body is how you can know, oh hey, I'm reacting, I'm speaking to talk, not to listen. When you really start to get to know that inner world, you see things much more clearly in a very, it's like a microscope. You can just see things at a different perspective, a different scope. So in that sense, I think really getting to know the body, getting to know the inner world is a really great indicator of how you can start to see when you're in an ego mind or in an authentic mind.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I agree with all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like it's just this it's also just a slowing down in
Yes.
life, because even just, if your like alarm goes off in the morning, you hop out of bed, you're in the same, gonna make coffee, gonna go to the bathroom, gonna brush my teeth, gonna make coffee, gonna get in the shower, gonna get in the car, like, and it's just go, go, go. And you don't take any time
Mm-hmm.
to just pause for a minute.
Self.
Yeah. Just pause and be like, okay, where just, and that, and I guess that takes just a moment of a
Intention.
intention. Thank you. That was the word, intention. Yeah, intentionality with your day. So it's like maybe the next morning you wake up and you're like, my intention is to go slower tomorrow. Like,
Yes, I like that.
and then you're like, okay, so in that slowness, and I'm just spitting this out for like, people that may be listening that may
Tips.
be like, yeah, like what, you know, how does this fall for me in my life? Like, where am I at in this
Yeah.
like, grand scheme of like identifying my ego and living with it, And so like
Where
that
am I at with self?
with self, yeah, with yourself. Yeah. So that's just like, just spitting out a little tip, intention, slowness.
One thing I feel like I always intention is really big in my life. I'm
Hmm.
really intentional with like majority of the things I do. But I tell my clients, I'm like, you don't have to do things for an hour. If you want to, perfect, do it, go for it. But you can literally take 2 minutes and be intentional with something.
Hmm.
Like when I drink this, when I look at this coffee, I can just look down and be so intentional with it and be like, this is fueling me. This is fueling my soul. My soul loves to drink this. So I'm going to honor this for my soul. And that boom is right there, taking that pause, that moment. It doesn't have to be this like grand thing. It can be as simple as, simple as pie. I'm looking for a phrase. I can't find one,
Yeah.
but
That
keeping,
sounds good.
I'll do a Michael Scott reference. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just the intention behind things
Uh-huh.
is a really great way to get into self, get to know self.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, do you have anything else you want to say about the ego, really? Like in your experience with it and
Well, are we going to be going into like experiences of how it like are we now going into the part where we want to talk about um how the ego has came in with regards to the podcast, or because I feel like we touched good on the ego. What do you think?
I think so. That's what I was just saying. Do you have
Yeah,
anything else?
cool.
Yeah. You feel good
No,
about it?
no. Yeah, I feel good.
Cool. Yeah, let's touch on like how the ego has presented itself, or how our insecurities, because I think the insecurities
Yes,
lead
yeah,
to the ego awareness.
right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe
Okay,
the
cool.
insecurities.
I've got a couple of experiences that I'd love to share.
Hmm.
So okay, for just like bringing it back to like the origin. So I have literally been wanting to do a podcast for like with you a year, with myself 2 years. I have been talking about getting on an online platform to share wisdom, to do energy healing. And I remember talking to my brother Jonah, Bethany's wife, Bethany's husband, and 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 I remember I said to him, I was like, "Oh, I'm not really techie, and I don't really know how to do these things." He's like, "Court, that's not true. Like, that's not true. I mean, sure, I may not be like the most technological advanced, but he pretty much called me out that I was allowing a fear, an ego, because I have so much wisdom to share. I have so much innate knowledge that can be relatable, that can help others. And my ego was holding me back. So guess what? I didn't do a podcast. I talked about it for a year and then I didn't do it. So I did live in that fear. And then me and you have been talking on and off and off. And now we're finally doing it. So I've like been able to shift from that ego and realize, hey, no, it's okay to share yourself. And then that leads me into, we had just filmed our first episode, and it was like a little pre-episode. And I was sitting on my couch. I was really jazzed after we did the episode. It was really fun. But then later that night, I had some self-doubts. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm wrong? And it literally allowed me to snowball into like self-doubting myself. And I came to you like right after, and you weren't feeling the insecurities at the beginning like I was. And I had another experience where I went home to Newfoundland back in the winter, and I was a little caught off guard by a friend. And I had realized, like, I had some friends kind of talking about my sexuality and just like my sex life. And it caught me off guard and it threw me off guard. And I was like, it made me feel a little uncomfortable because I wasn't around to like defend myself or even just talk about who I am as a person. And it really, but then like it made me feel, I felt the ego come through. And it's interesting because that was like, again, we had just filmed our first episode, so these things were coming into my energetic field. And as I like processed and worked through being misunderstood, being being like talked about in a way that I would have liked to have been around, I was like, Courtney, this is a learning experience. You're doing a podcast. You're going to be putting yourself out there. People are not going to jive with you. People are not going to get what you're putting down. You are going to be misunderstood. Here's a really good opportunity for you to like lean in with the discomfort of not people not understanding you.
Mhm.
And so that was like, these are just like, I just thought these were all little beautiful experiences for me to see where A, I was allowing the ego to take hold and hold me back, and B, allowing people's conceptions of me. But really, I'm just like, I know who I am, and that's all that matters. So, and now and after I had that experience, I worked through it for a couple of weeks. It took me a couple of weeks to shift and grow from it. But then the fear left me. I was like super jazzed. I couldn't wait for the podcast episodes to come out. And we're being super raw and authentic. And we're also like being deep and nitty-gritty, which I love.
Mhm.
And I'm so excited to where it's gonna go. And now as I shifted out of the insecurities, you kind of started to feel some insecurities.
Yeah. So, okay, first before I finish this
Yeah,
thought,
yeah. I knew you're like,
yeah.
hold on, let's come back.
Um, so what exactly, if you could speak to, what exactly was it, just sitting with those insecurities and realizing that what about, what did you do? Like any personal practices or any like
Mhm.
affirmations, or like, I don't know, what did you do to shift through those times where it was like a little bit heavier and stickier with the insecurities? You were on the other side of like seeing them clearly and being, what was that, what in that transition, what were your tools?
Wonderful, wonderful question, Biff Star. Um, so I am a huge journaler. I have been journaling since I was 9 years old. I have all my journals from when I was 9. So I have a lot of thoughts in my brain. And I did a lot of journaling in that experience, but I'm also a mover, I'm a mover of energy. I like to like embody. So even going back to like Mama Gina from episode 2, Mama Gina is like living in, you move through your emotions, you embody it so you can pass it so it doesn't get stuck in the body. So yoga is a really big practice for me. Hula hooping is a really big practice for me. Walking, I was doing journaling, walking, yoga, um hula hooping. And so my friend sent me uh my friend had sent me this like self-compassion meditation a while ago, long time, like a few months ago, and it allowed me to realize that my harsh critic lives in my shoulder.
Mm,
And so I've been energetically trying to connect to it fully, and I went to so I've been working on it myself, and it wasn't fully lifting for me. So I went for massage. That's another practice of mine. Getting massage is getting in the body. And then that was great, but then it was still lingering. And it was funny because like these insecurities were coming up with the podcast, and I was feeling pain in the shoulder. And I booked a session with my energy healer, and I told her, I was like, I've got my critic lives here. I've got something stuck in the shoulder. I haven't been able to fully pass on my own. I'm here to seek your guidance. And that session was a couple of weeks ago. Night and day, she was able to help me push through and release the energy that was there. So this is kind of digressed a little bit, but I think it still ties in. It's just like energy work, massage, journaling, walking, moving the body, finding your tools. Like those are all the tools that work right for me. And since, that energy session, those insecurities, the critic, I haven't heard the critic. She's been so gentle. And one thing too, when I notice my harsh inner voice or my harsh critic, I really try to just like I'm like, again, I try to treat her like a friend, and I'm just like, hey, I see you, you're okay, let me hold some space for you, let me send you some love because that's what you need.
mhm.
And those are the things that truly allow me to work through and process and integrate. So yeah, so a little long tangent, but
No, that was
I hope it.
perfect.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
perfect. That's
Cool.
perfect. That's what I want to hear. Yeah. And you are
Sweet.
you are a journaler. Like
Yeah.
I admire journalers, and you're not even a Gemini. Like Gemini
Actually I am. I do.
on the
I'm a
cusp.
Gemini. I'm a Gemini ascendant. I'm a Sagittarius moon,
Oh,
and I'm an Aquarius sun.
okay. You're ascending Gemini.
Exactly.
Oh, that makes sense. Because I'm like, geez, like you journal like a queen. It's like
I
it's admirable. It's something that I don't do, and yeah, like I love it, and I don't do it. I never have done it well. Even when I try because it's like the thing that everybody said, journal, write out your thoughts. Like, so I've just never been able to do that very successfully. Like it doesn't feel good to me. My like hand starts to cramp, and I just can't get like the things on the paper fast enough, and I'm just like,
Oh, I hear you. Sometimes, and I'm
yeah.
legit. No, sometimes my hand, I'm like, take a break. I take a break.
Yeah, okay, because I'm like, it's
Legit.
not enjoyable for me.
But
But
but how beautiful to kind of lean into that.
yeah.
Everybody's different, and
Yeah.
that's what I try to tell my clients is like, what works for me may not work for you, but hey, give it a shot, you may love it. But
Mhm.
and it also, if you don't love it, it may lead you to something different. There are so many different things to move energy, to move thoughts and things that are being stuck. And it's really just like stepping into that inner world and being like, hey, what do you like? What is it that you want to try to move? So, like, maybe you want to punch a pillow to move
Yeah.
energy. Maybe you want to scream at the top of your lungs in the woods. That is releasing energy.
My favorite thinking about the woods is hugging a big tree.
Yes.
That's my
Yes. Oh,
favorite.
yeah.
It's my favorite.
But also
Favorite.
leaning into that as well. It's like trees are fierce, like
Yeah.
fierce is to be reckoned with. Like they are a strong energy. They will. I hug trees all the time too, and I'm always like, any energy. When I hug a tree, I'm like, going back to intention, I'll hug a tree and be like, any sort of heaviness or something that doesn't serve me, please, the trees, release it and help me be. I want to be as strong as a tree.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that thought. I love that thought. Yeah, I do a lot of well, I have a tree in my backyard that I just love right now, and we spend time together every day. And lately,
Mm.
my intention with it, this is such a tangent or side note, but my intention with it is to I first charge my body with energy and feel the energy, and I ground through my feet, and I feel the energy grounding through me, and then I send the energy through my heart space into the tree, into
Mm.
the roots, into Mother Earth first, and then we send it up through the top of
Uh,
the tree, to the rest of the planet, to anybody that needs it. And that's been my like,
Oh,
that's been my morning, like, or well, it's usually in the mornings. In the afternoon, if I go on a walk and I hug the tree, it's usually to rebalance me after work. It's usually to
I
like
love that.
literally rebalance my energy, like charge my energy. Yeah. That's
That's
my
amazing.
my newest tree.
Like,
My
but like,
tree
look how
ritual.
beautiful. Yes,
Yeah.
but like rituals, finding your rituals, and
Mhm.
that's going to be an episode 100%, like
Yeah.
don't leaning into rituals, but like that is something that works so well for you and it keeps you grounded,
Mhm.
it keeps you balanced, and it works. So
Yep.
keep it going,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
keep doing the things that work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to get back on track,
Hmm.
I'll chat about my stages of my stage of insecurity came with this podcast. After I took our content, I had never no insecurities recording the
You
videos.
had none.
I had none. I was like, this is great. Like whatever, we're good with it. It's just gonna be so
You're
fun.
like, Cord, I just don't give a fuck. I
Yeah.
was like, fuck yeah, Biv.
And then so it was interesting, and I still actually don't give a fuck. I still actually don't give a fuck about, I mean, I actually care a lot about what comes out of my mouth, but I don't give a fuck about how it's received, because it's meant to land however it's supposed to land for whoever, and I can't necessarily care about how it's supposed to land. But so when I edited the videos and I made the YouTube channel and I uploaded the YouTube like last week or so, that's when the first insecurity came in. And I was like, all of a sudden, bam, it was like this little voice came in and was like, who's going to want to listen to you? Like, who's going to want to listen to you and Courtney just talk for like 45 minutes to an hour? Like, who's going to do that? Who's going to want to listen to that? And I was just like, it was like it was the first time I had insecurity. I sat with it for not an incredible amount of time, but that's my thing with this whole process is like sit with it. Like don't try to shove it away. Don't
Yeah.
also let it take you over. Like sit with it. Just be with it for a minute. And I just kept, and that goes into so many things in life for me, like even altercations, or if me and Jonah have a really sour moment for whatever reason, like, or I'm feeling a sour way towards somebody for a reason, like sit with that for a minute. Just observe it. Observe the thought, observe mostly the thought, and allow it to just run through a little bit. So that thought ran through my mind a little bit. Who's gonna want to listen to you? Who's like, and I'm puttering around the kitchen in the morning, like making coffee or doing something like that. And then all of a sudden this just like epiphany wave just kind of washed over me and was like, you know what? You talk to people all the time on the phone for 45 minutes to an hour, and they love listening to you and they love talking to you. So, like, of course, people will love to listen to this. Like, there will, and so that washed over, and I was like, okay, all right. And so that sense of like insecurity definitely drifted away really quickly with that thought, like, okay, there are going to be people that want to listen to this. Like, of course. And then I was telling Courtney later that day just about that insecurity, and I thought, and I shared it with her, and I said, this is just the first time I've thought something insecure. And she was like, that's okay. That was just the ego. It was trying to keep you safe. And she was like, but and I thought that was just brilliant, because I was like, oh, it totally was. Like I'm
Yeah.
officially made the YouTube. I'm about to do the vulnerable
Yes.
thing. Now my
Yes.
ego. So up until that point, my ego had not realized that
Correlated. Yeah.
this recording right now that we're doing is going to be this someday. But then once it was that, it was the YouTube. It was up there. Then the ego is like, oh wait, pump the brakes. Pump the
Hello.
yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
I don't know this.
Yeah.
We've never done this
Yeah.
before.
Right.
Ah!
Yeah, totally. And it was like screech, screech. So it came up with a really funny thought, just like that's how the ego works.
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
it came up with a funny thought to tell me, like, who's gonna want to listen to you? Like, okay, nice try. And then so when you sit with these thoughts, like, and it could be about anything, because like we said, the ego, going back to the beginning, the ego is there to keep you safe in so many instances in life, down to what outfit you put on for the day.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
it's threaded through every bit of our lives. So it's about being aware and sitting with the thoughts. And that is a practice in its own, but that is what
It
like
is.
meditation offers you. That's what breath work
Mhm.
offers you. That's what walking in the woods,
Yes.
journaling, like that's what like Courtney was, all those practices that Courtney does, and that we all may do to a certain degree. Those all bring you closer to your awareness of your consciousness, and that's when you start to debunk
Those
the ego a little
stories.
bit in the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you start to become friends with her instead of or
Yeah.
him instead of it running your life and just being this constant loop of
Yes.
stories going through your mind all day or information.
That
Yeah.
that potentially you're not going to do things because you let the fear, you let the ego take the passenger, you let the ego take the driver's wheel and let that go, because it's beautiful what you said. It's like you allowed yourself to embody it. You didn't shame having that thought, who's going to want to listen to you. You didn't shame yourself for having that thought. You went through, you allowed it to process so that you could integrate it. You embodied it.
Mhm.
And that's what is beautiful, is when we don't shy away from those thoughts, those feelings that we have, because if we shy away from those thoughts and feelings, well, they're going to get stuck in our body, and then it's going to hold us back even more. It'll hold us back tenfold.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of the journey of where we've been at with our egos, and we just thought it would be a really potent thing to share with everybody. And a little glimpse into like this isn't, something that comes like it comes easy to us to chit chat. It comes really easy
Yeah.
in court to chit chat and riff on life and ideas and concepts, and like that's easy. But the hard part is when you put that out there to the world, and then that ego, your safety net, kicks in hard. And so we felt like it would just be a really cool episode to share, just to be like, hey, we're real, and
Mhm.
just like
And these are the insecurities that we have.
yeah,
It's relatable. Like
yeah.
there's yeah, exactly. I was thinking last night before bed about us chit-chatting, and I was like, remember when you came for my birthday last year and Jonah was asleep, and me and you literally spent like 3 to 4 hours in the morning just
Oh yeah, oh
talking.
yeah, oh
Like
yeah.
we didn't like it was all day. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
that's right, that's right. Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
But
Yeah, we chit
it's
chat.
super easy for us. It's super
Yeah,
easy for us.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna let you keep talking.
Oh, I know. I'm
I,
good. I'm good. I'm good. I don't know. I was just. I felt like. I felt like we got everything out there that we wanted to get out about
yeah,
about things, and if you have anything that you want to comment in the comment section of this YouTube, like we're so down to expand on anything or to hold
yeah,
space too for your journey or what you're experiencing. And if you want to just toss it out there, that's a place that you could do that and feel comfortable
yeah,
doing that.
yeah. And it'll be a way for us to expand on these topics so
Mhm.
that we can talk about integration and how to allow these things to flow in life. There's something I was gonna say. The thought is gone, but also feel free to give us a like and subscribe to our channel so
Nice.
so that we can expand on our followers and expand out the wisdom.
Yeah, yeah, definitely share it if you feel called to. We appreciate it. And, we're just gonna keep showing up, keep chit-chatting, and there's
Yeah,
definitely more goodness to come. And yeah, thanks for hearing our thoughts on this. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I felt like I looked at every other podcaster, like it just happened so easily and effortlessly. And I just feel like there's probably an immense amount of their egos that never got talked about. So
wait, what do you mean? Can you say
just
that
as
again?
far as like I feel like when you watch a podcast or you listen to a podcast, you just think like that happens and like people do that effortlessly and like there's no humanness to it
Yes,
as far as the ego. And I just felt like that was it's a cool thing to expand on, let people know that it
there
is
are
there and
fears,
it's
there are.
real. Yeah, this
Yes,
didn't just
yes.
happen without any insecurity, you know?
Yeah, and it is true, because like we often can put people on pedestals and being like, oh my God, like what you said at the beginning, how these podcasts, it seems so natural and it seems so easy, and but no, there are definitely layers upon layers, and we don't fully know what everybody is thinking. So it's like, but when we can bring it up to the surface, when we can make people think about things, when we can touch on the icky sticky,
Mhm.
when you touch on those things, that's when you allow anytime I see chaos, I'm like, okay, all right, all right, all right, I see you. But guess what? I know there's going to be transformation afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like allowing yourself to feel all facets,
Mm-hmm.
but don't dwell on them. Don't get stuck in them. Try and move and shift and integrate your ego.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, are we done for this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
Cool.
cool. Until
All
next
right.
time.
Yeah. Until next time, be sure, like again, I'll say it again. Please be sure to like and comment and subscribe. That would mean so much to us. And we are so excited to allow this podcast to just come to fruition. We are very excited. So, from my heart to yours, and Bethany, my heart to you too. Like, I'm so thankful for this experience, and I am really excited to see what is to come. And I just hope you guys enjoy being with us, expanding with us, learning with us. And yeah, just like comment below to truly any topic, we're in for it.
Yeah, totally. I was gonna say that actually. If you want to hear us talk about something or you want to, yeah, have a conversation about something, just drop it in the comments. We're down. We're down. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Sending love to everyone. See you next time.
Bye.